Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmaracharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Wonderful to join all of you for this great occasion, 31st anniversary of Arsha Vidya Gurukulam. As she mentioned very nicely, this was where I had spent a lot of time with Puja Swamiji. In fact, this was my home from 1987 through 2000. So those 13 years, this was not metaphorically, but literally my home. And every time I come back, it's truly coming home, although it's different now. Let me share with you an observation. In fact, I was just here for 1 week conducting a 1-week course here, and it was just wonderful to be here for that week. And here's something I shared with the camp attendees, and that is coming home. It's like when you go to your family home, you return to your family home after your parents are no more. My parents are no more. For many of you, it's the same. But family home is still there. When you go to the family home, even though parents are no longer there, your brothers, sisters, others are there. I feel like that now, even though Puja Swamiji is no longer here. It is so dear to come home, to meet my brothers and sisters. Mera bara bhai, you would say. and I didn't know how many cousins I had. Look at this. Hundreds and hundreds of cousins. And it's just so wonderful each time I come here. Let me share with you something very briefly based on what we talked about during our 1-week course. We were talking about Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, the main teachings of Advaita, the main sadhana, the main practice, as it were, in Advaita Vedanta. And to make a very complex topic very simple and short for this occasion, there's a beautiful metaphor, some of you I'm sure have heard, relating to Sri Krishna, and since tomorrow is Krishna Janmashtami, this is a very nice metaphor. You all know Sri Krishna as Murali Dhara, as the one who plays the Murali, flute, Bansuri, you might also say. Bansuri means it's made of bans, bamboo. In Sanskrit, we use the word Venu. And Venu can mean both bamboo and it can mean flute. Has both meanings. So Sri Krishna is the player of that flute made of bamboo. Of course, if you go and you pick up a piece of bamboo, you cut it down, you can't play that. It doesn't make any sound, it doesn't make any music because it hasn't been properly prepared. To prepare that bamboo for use as a flute, several things need to be done. The most important thing is inside that bamboo is pith, and at each joint it's closed up. So you have to remove that pith and the clogging at the joints. An interesting way of putting it is the reed or that bamboo is unusable as a flute because it's clogged up. And this is a metaphor. Only when that bamboo has been unclogged, so to speak, only when it has been rendered hollow. Rabindranath Tagore uses this wonderful expression, hollow reed. And he says we should all be like that hollow reed without being clogged. Now, what do we mean by being clogged? Obviously, this is a metaphor. So what clogs us, it's a long list, kama, krodha, moda, mada, matsarya, etc. Or to summarize all that, what clogs us is ignorance, avidya. Puja Swamiji was fond of using the term self-non-recognition. And what a perfect term to describe the central problem we address through the teachings of Vedanta. We fail to recognize our own innate fullness and completeness, that innate divinity which is the truth of each one of us. And due to that self-non-recognition, we find ourselves incomplete with so many needs and wants and desires, and we then focus our attention on meeting our needs and fulfilling our desires. The problem, of course, is to the extent we are focused on fulfilling our own needs and desires, to that extent we ignore the needs and desires of others. On the other hand, if we can become like that flute, like that hollow reed, freed from being clogged up, so to speak, free from being impeded by this ignorance and all the effects of ignorance, if we become like that hollow reed, free from ignorance, free from egotism, free from all these needs and desires, free from having an agenda for oneself, another expression Puja Swamiji loved. If we become freed from our agendas for ourselves, to that extent, we are then available to help others fulfill their dreams and fulfill their agendas. This process of unclogging the bamboo is a metaphor for Shravana. Since Shravana culminates in the discovery of your true nature as Satchidananda Atma, as being full, complete, divine, that renders, just as clearing out the clogs in the bamboo renders the bamboo suitable for use as a flute, similarly, when we are unclogged of that ignorance and ego, we become a suitable instrument in whose hands? Isn't that a beautiful metaphor? We become an instrument in the hands of Sri Krishna, in the hands of the Lord, but only when we're unclogged. Now, to finish this metaphor, after the flute maker finishes removing the pith from that bamboo, and he cuts the holes and all of that, I suppose there's a process of refinement that takes place. The opening where you blow into it, it's very critical, and the bamboo has to be cut just right at the exact angle. And I suppose even after initially making the pipe, there's a process of refinement, also where the holes are drilled in order to get the pitches exactly right. There you have to adjust the holes a little bit. So after unclogging the reed, so to speak, there's a process of refinement undertaken by the flute maker. That process of refinement perhaps can represent manana, nididhyasana, the auxiliary practices through which we remove any obstacles to this knowledge so that the jnana phala, the fruits of this knowledge, come through us very beautifully. And that's really the final metaphor. For the fruits of this knowledge, that freedom, that fullness, that expansiveness of heart. Puja Swamiji spoke so often of having a big heart. So when these teachings culminate in each of us having that big heart, having that fullness, having that completeness, we become like that very carefully tuned and refined flute. The flute was prepared through first up unclogging it, and then further refinement, representing what we go through Shravana, listening to these teachings, being engaged in this process of internal inquiry, culminating in this discovery of this grand truth revealed by the ancient rishis, simply discovering that inner fullness and completeness, that big heart, And then the further refinement, as I said, manana, nididhyasana, removing the obstacles. Just as when the flute is refined, it's capable of making beautiful music when we are refined. Refined through the teachings you receive here during every program, during every camp, the wonderful camps that take place here, not just in summer, but throughout the year, the weekend program on the first and third Sunday of each month. Through all of these programs and your continued study at home, so many recordings of Swami Tadatmananda Ji and others are available online, in addition to all these books. So with that process of refinement that goes on both here at the Gurukulam and hopefully at your homes as well, to the extent we become refined through all that sadhana, we become that flute in Sri Krishna's hands, capable of making the most exquisite music. And that exquisite music, to conclude with just one word of Puja Swamiji, that exquisite music that we can make when our hearts are freed from the confinement of ignorance and desire, etc., the exquisite music we will make in our lives in the hands of Sri Krishna, Puja Swamiji's word, that exquisite music is caring. Thank you. Om.